Good evening and welcome to the Formula Racing League. Round 9 of the F2 Championship takes us to the Algarve International Circuit in Portimao in Portugal. I'm Tom Cairns in the commentary box, giving you details for tonight's races. We've got one-shot qualifying followed by a feature race, which should last around 20 laps or so, maybe 19, but we'll find out further down the line. We've got a sprint race coming up after, to wrap up the evening's action. So just waiting for the cars to make their way out, just around about 10 seconds away from that starting. And we'll ride on board with one of the drivers during the course of their lap. Here's Ramsell, who will be looking to continue his good form. He won both races last week, and he pursued a late title challenge. It's going through turn 3. Turn 4, not too bad for him. DRS open. Very nice line through there. Through 5. Turn 6, no problem for him. And through turn 8 in third gear in these F2 cars. And he'll make his way past turn 9 and 10. And he'll brake for turn 11. Through turn 12. And then into 13. '14 is third gear. And we're going to carry all the momentum. Some good exit speed through the banking of turn 15. And Ramsell should go to pole position with this lap. So Ramsell on pole by nearly a second. And he'll be very, very happy with that. So here's your grid for the feature race. Ramsell is on pole ahead of Melios and Terades. Green Pice is 4th on the grid ahead of Swanshanks and Winfield. Vintage 7th ahead of Wild Dog, with Cookie and Rosie running out the top 10. Melky and Dust are 11th and 12th, the last of those to set a time. Hartnell, Argent, Podge, Derp, Fragile Tunnel and Will did not set a time, and they all start at the back. We're back in a moment for the first race of the evening. So just looking at the calendar at the moment, it is expected we'll be going to Imola next week, and then the week after we'll probably be at Paul Ricard, and then the final round will be in Singapore on November the 3rd. So the situation in the championship sees Don Argent, who is starting second on the grid. He is ahead by 89 points from Green Pies, and it's Rosie in third on 197, Vintage in fourth on 191, and Winfield in fifth on 190. Swanshanks sixth on 182, and it's Ramsell next in seventh on 168. We'll make that 172 because he's taken pole position for the feature race here tonight. We're just a few seconds away from the start of the formation up, so we'll take the opportunity to see who is starting on what. So, an interesting selection for the drivers. There are only 4 starters on the soft compound. They are Ramsell, Green Pies, Cookie and Rosie. The rest are all starting on the medium, so starting on the harder medium rubber. There is a mandatory pit stop involved in F2 in the feature race. The pit window opens on lap 3, and you must use both dry compounds during the course of this race, otherwise it will result in a disqualification. So we expect to see those on the soft compound coming in sooner and those on the mediums coming in later. It'll be a 19-lap feature race. For the sprint race that is later, that is not requiring a mandatory pit stop. That will be a 13-lap event. So we should get this done in under half an hour. Ramsell goes into this race 122 points behind. Now, there are 40 points up for grabs in a feature race in the Formula Racing League and 30 points for a win in a sprint race. Ramsell won both the feature and sprint race. So both feature and sprint races last week in China. He'll be hoping to replicate in that tonight. And then really, really take the fight to Argent in the championship. The only problem for him is, well, I was going to say Don Argent's down in 14th place. He didn't complete a fast enough lap time, so he's got his work cut out in this one. So Ramsell's just got to do all he can to close in as the rounds continue to wind down on the 5th season of F2 in the Formula Racing League. The cars are coming back onto the grid then on this wide Portimao track that was opened in 2008, designed by Ricardo Pina. And of course it made its first appearance on the F1 calendar in 2020 in response to the COVID-19 pandemic and hosted around in 2021. We hope to see it host another race sometime soon in 2022, although it's no certainty that it will be on the calendar for next year or the year after, or who knows. The 5 red lights are in front of the drivers then. When they go out, we're racing here in Portimao for the first time tonight. It's lights out, and away we go. Ramsell gets off the line very, very well and pulls away from Emilios, who will have to settle for second and goes defensive on the Prema of Terades and the Dams of Green Pies as they go into turn 1. So Ramsell leads from the Campos of Emilios in second, and it's Green Pies who dives to the inside of Terades as they go through turn 3. Swanshanks gets his nose in there as well, and he goes up to 4th place in the Cheroos. So it's Ramsell leads, Emilios second, Green Pies third, Swanshanks, Terades, Rosie, Winfield, Dust, Cookie and Malky running out your top 10 so far. Looking at Green Pies now, who dives to the inside of Mielios as they go into turn 5. Contact made between the Dams and the Campos as they exit off that hairpin. And now through turn 6 and turn 7 they go. Ramsell's lead is already a second so far. That's good news for him, as there is no DRS for the first 2 laps, but by the time they do start the 3rd lap, Ramsell will be very much clear and out of threat with the DRS. And there's Terades still fighting with the Cheroos of Swanshanks as they go through turns 9, 10 and then 11, as Rosie on the soft compound tyres dive into the outside as they go through turn 12. Rosie given enough space there by the Prema before they go through turn 13 together. Rosie's still on the inside, and she should be able to move up into 5th place before they complete the 1st lap. So it looks as though everyone has got through the 1st lap without any incidents, which is very good to see. Ramsell leads at the end of lap 1 with a 1:29.4. That lap time will most certainly come down as the race unfolds. Can't see anyone making a move there, although there's Podge going side by side with the HWA of Malky before they get to turn 1. And Podge moves up into 10th place. There's Will in the pits already in the Trident. He appears to have damage. The only problem he has is this will not count as his mandatory pit stop, so he'll have to be hoping for a safe car. And Terades has gone round in the Prema. I'm not sure what's happened to him. He's made contact with the wall. I hope he hasn't suffered damage, but his race is already compromised. He was in the top 5, but he's now well out of the top 5. So Ramsell continues to lead. Green Pies is close back in to under a second to the high tech in front. Green Pies, who had a nightmare of a night in China 7 days ago. We're hoping to put that one right here as Wild Dog picks up the first time penalty of the race. 3 seconds it is. We'll keep that on screen for now. So the highest of those started on the mediums is Melios in 3rd place. So looking to see who has gained what on that opening lap. The biggest jumper is Rosie. Well, so big Rosie, it was Podge, who is up 6 places from 15th to 9th. And Rosie up 5 places from 10th to 5th. Here we go then, the beginning of lap 3. And there is Green Pies closing in on the high tech of Ramsell. We won't have been able to use the DRS because the detection point for the DRS is at turn 15, which is before the end of the lap, so we'll have to wait next time around for that. But you can use the DRS here as Ramsell spins out of turn 5 into the wall, breaks his front wing. The man who's been in brilliant form since he joined the F2 series in the Formula Racing League has thrown it all the way on the 3rd lap. And he's damaged his front wing. And that hands the lead to Green Pies now in the dams. That is the last thing that Ramsell needed. At least the pit window is open now, so if he wanted to make a pit stop, he could do that. But it's still not an ideal scenario. Although, having said that, he started the race on the soft compound tyre, so he'll probably go to the medium tyres now. And if the safety car does come out later, he may decide to go back onto the soft compound. But either way, his race is ruined, and there is Vintage going for a spin on the exit of turn 8. So it's Green Pies in the lead, with Melios in 2nd, Swanshanks 3rd, Rosie now 4th. It won't be too long before we see her coming into the pits for the mediums. There's Winfield right behind Cookie in the battle for 5th as they go through turn 15. And Cookie already going defensive. It almost looked like he was going in the pits there. Winfield staying in touch. No change at the moment as they go through turn 1. There's Wild Dog under threat from Podge. Arjun's ahead of him in 8th. Podge diving to the inside here of Wild Dog. Wild Dog needs to make sure he sees him, which he appears to have done so. Leaves him enough room, and Podge is going to go out wide here. So no change there. Winfield's still behind Cookie as they exit turn 5. 2 drivers with penalties so far. They are Wild Dog and Malky. And it looks to me that Ramsell has decided to stay out for another lap or so, so I think he wants to try and stretch out this stint as long as possible before he does decide to come into the pits. He's right behind Fragile Tunnel, actually. Oh, and there's Redstone Dirk. He's hit the back of Malky as the HWA spun round, so Redstone Dirk won't be too pleased with that. And Ramsell's able to get through on him. So Ramsell able to pass a few cars, actually. Oh, contact made between himself and Malky. Can the two keep it clean as Ramsell will be looking to go to the outside as Malky gets well out of shape through turn 13. And Ramsell goes through as Will retires from the race. He's crashed out at turn 5. That might bring out the safety car, and it has done so. Green Pies has just gone past it, so those on the soft compound may want to come into the pits. Well, Dust, who's on the mediums, is taking the opportunity to pit in. Derp doesn't slow down in time. He gets a 5... Well, I say he doesn't slow down in time. He's made contact with Malky under the safety car. Oh, and Malky runs into the back of him. Now, these two are going to be spoken to by the stewards afterwards. To be fair, Redstone Dirt did hit before Malky did the same to him, so this is not going to be tolerated by the stewards by any stretch. So Malky comes into the pits to serve a penalty. So 4 drivers in the pits at the end of the lap. Ramsell, one of them, which is no surprise. He's going to a set of medium tyres. I was conscious of what tyres he was going to go on, but it is the mediums going on to the high-tech. And he gets out in 15th place. But he's back in play now. And I just wonder what Green Pies is going to choose to do here. Now, they all have to adhere to a delta, as Green Pies is he's not caught up to the safety car yet, so they've got to adhere to the delta of which has been given to them. So there's Redstone Dirt out on the soft compound tyre. He may decide to come back in to take that 5 seconds. So Green Pies takes the opportunity to come in. Now, what does Melios decide to do? He's also coming in for tyres, but Swanshanks decides to stay out. Melios has just been penalised for speeding in the pit lane, so that's 5 seconds going to him. Rosie in, Cookie in, and Arjun deciding to stay out. Now, that's interesting from him. So Swanshanks is going to be the one catching up to the safety car. He's on the exit of turn 4, I believe. That's where Will had his accident that saw him retire. Swanshanks slows down and does not go past the safety car. Now Podge has also decided to stay out. He's behind Argent in 3rd place. Vintage 4th. And Green Pies, after that pit stop, is now in 5th place behind his teammate. Redstone Dirt has picked up another penalty, this time for track limits. This is frustrating to know that when drivers are secure in the knowledge that they are under safety car conditions, they just get silly penalties by exceeding track limits. So Ramsell not able to get in front of the Campos there, needs to make sure he stays behind it. So Ramsell may be at a disadvantage on the restart, but those on the soft compound are going to struggle towards the end of the race. So a total of 4 drivers yet to pit, and that's the top 4. Swanshanks, Argent, Podge, and Vintage. And I think the safety car is going to go out for one more lap, so could this trigger some pit lane activity? Vintage gets a time penalty for exceeding track limits. Sees another one to fall foul of that. And Arjun decides that he is going to go into the pit lane. Gets the car slowed down in time as well. So he'll have to go onto the soft compound if he's going to go to the end of this race. He's already used the medium so far. At least he doesn't need to change his front wing. Now he'll rejoin right at the back. He may rejoin ahead of Malky, actually, who's going down the pit straight. So there's Argent. He will rejoin ahead of the HW8. So Malky will remain behind him. So we're on lap 7 out of 19. Just one car out of this race. That's Will, who's crashed out on the exit of turn 4 in the Trident. Hence why he's no longer racing. He should be back for the sprint race later, though. Swanshanks knows he's got a chance of going for a decent result in this one. Remember, the top 8 finishers of this feature race will get reversed for the sprint race grid. As it stands right now, it would be Winfield in that position, but a long way to go. I can see that's Wild Dog going off the track. He's just going a bit too quick there. And I think he's just lost the position to Dust as a result of it because he went off track. The safety car is going to be coming in at the end of this lap. So Swanshanks will slow down, allow the safety car to pull clear, and he will go when he is ready to do so. Now he needs to make sure he leaves the safety car space, actually, before he does launch clear. Podge is in second, Green Pies in 3rd place now ahead of his teammate. We're back on the way then in Portimao. Swanshanks gets a nice restart. Green Pie's right on the tail of Podge as they begin lap 8. Is anyone going for a move? It looks like Melios is going to go to the outside of Vintage into turn 1. And that's a nice move. You can see Podge going off track there whilst he's trying to defend from Green Pies. Very easy to get a track limit warning for running that far out wide on this track. And Winfield now trying to get past Cookie on the exit of turn 4. May have one on the inside for 5. Gets through there. Contact made between Dust and Cookie as they go through turn 5. It looks like everyone has pretty much kept it clean throughout the restart, which is very, very good to see. So Swanshanks in P1 still. Green Pies in second place. There's no DRS for the first 2 laps of the restart, remember. So Swanshanks will want to use that opportunity to pull away. But remember, he still needs to take his mandatory pit stop. It's the same for Podge, and it's the same for Vintage. I'd reckon they'll go to about 11 or 12 laps of this race before they do choose to pit in. If the safety car does come out before then, that's when they can take the opportunity to pit in, and that way they don't fall that far behind the field. And you can see a battle there between Podge and Melios as they tussle over third place. Melios touching the grass there as Podge fends him off. Anything else happening further behind? There's Vintage in 6th place as Rosie gets past him. Winfield looking to do the same. He doesn't quite do so there. There's contact behind, bits of front wing everywhere. Not sure which car that is that's flown off, and someone else has gone off the track. Who is that? It's the Cheroos of Swanshanks. So Swanshanks from the race lead has spun out, has spun off the track at turn 4, and has lost the race lead to Green Pies. And there's Ramsell there. I think he's the one that's got damage. So that's the second time in this race he has suffered damage from contact with another driver. There we go, look, the right-hand side of his front wing is damaged. So he'll most certainly need to be pitting in for a new nose cone, or just wait out there until in case there's another safety car or something. Plenty of on-track battling going on as Cookie gets past Vintage on the inside into 11, and on the outside through 12. He's got through there. It looks like one of the high-techs is making his way through. That's Argent, who has already pitted this one. He's fighting his way through on the soft compounds. Doing very, very nicely. Maybe enjoying this battle, actually. The way... Oh, no, he's not enjoyed that one, though. He's tapped the back of Vintage, I believe, and that's him off the track and falling to the back. So all that hard work over the last couple of laps has come to naught for him. Vintage into the pits for a new nose cone. Ramsell has decided to stay out there. He's currently in 10th place. He's battling with the HWA. Both of them going off track, and that allows Therese to surely get the jump on the pair of them. Ramsell almost trying to get out onto the curb there. And now he's going to lose out to Redstone Derp, who's on the inside. Ramsell will fight back, though. He's got the DRS. And Hartnell will have the DRS as he tries to get past Therese on the inside into turn 5. Oh, Ramsell nearly tips off the track there by Redstone Derp, and he's swamped by the 2 Cheroos cars. And Redstone Derp making contact there again with the high-tech. It's getting heated out there at the moment with the way these guys are squabbling for position on the restart. But it's Green Pies in the lead with Melios nearly 2 seconds behind him with a penalty to his name. There's Ramsell diving to the inside of Redstone Derp. Is it? No, it's Swanshanks. He's diving to the inside. But Swanshanks fights back. But Ramsell needs to watch the other Cheroos because he's within a car's length alongside. Ramsell leaves him enough room. Oh, he doesn't leave him enough room there. That's naughty, that, from Ramsell. He knew Redstone Derp was there, and he's forced him off the racetrack. So Ramsell, I'm sure, will be spoken to by the stewards about that incident. Here's Winfield, though, with DRS alongside Rosie in the battle for 4th position. Winfield goes to the inside into turn 1. Is this 4th place going to him? Rosie's still there. Winfield will want to make sure he's on the inside for turn 3. There's a few drivers receiving time penalties now for track limits. Swanshanks is one of them. Terades is another. And Winfield gets better drive coming out of turn 4. And he's got the DRS to pull alongside the UNI Virtuosi car to go up into 4th place at last. Gets his elbows out and he goes through. So it's Fragile Tunnel tussling with Arjun, who's fighting back. Now, Green Pies, who went into this race second in the championship, he really needs a good result here to close in on Arjun, and this is a good opportunity to do so. At the moment, he would be bagging 40 points from this race. Arjun looks set to be only achieving 2. Having said that, he's not got a time penalty to his name, unlike some of the others, so he may benefit from that. The Green Pie's looking very good. All he needs to do is just keep the car on the track and victory will be his. So Rosie and Cookie tussling over 5th place. Rosie's dropped back from Winfield in her battle with him. Cookie into the slipstream of the UNI Virtuosi. Pulls alongside. Is this him going through and up into what is now 4th place because Podge has come into the pits for his mandatory change of tyres. Softs will be going on. Vintage has been in the pits a moment or so ago. He's right at the back. They've got a lot of work to do to catch up to the rest of these guys. Redstone Dirt continuing to be penalised for track limits. He's on 14 seconds worth, which is far too much. He's towards the back anyway. But it's certainly not a good way to advertise yourself in the Formula Racing League, or in fact, as an esports racer of any kind. Ramsell to the outside of Swanshanks as they go through turn 8, and Ramsell's through and back into the top 10. And Ramsell's deciding to stay out there despite the damage he's got. Now you can see the horrible understeer he's suffering there. Swanshanks wasn't able to take advantage of it. Swanshanks using all the road and then some. 7 laps to go then. Green Pies 1.6 seconds clear of Emilio's on the road. Winfield another 8 seconds adrift. There's Swanshanks going way off track there, and he's deservedly received a penalty for it. And this is him coming back into the pits. I don't think he's even stopped yet in this race for his mandatory pit stop. It's gone in far too quick, and that earns him a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. I wonder if he'll call it quits, to be honest with you. So there's Rosie fighting out with Cookie, who's able to get past UNI Virtuosi. Rosie getting out of shape a little bit. It's a very tricky corner to get right through turn 4, particularly through these F2 cars. Arjun diving to the inside there of the HWA of Jay Hartnell, we haven't seen too much of in this one. And looks like Ramsell is looking to get through on him as well. I think he's just been overtaken by the high-tech driver, so Ramsell down to 11th place. So Arjun to the inside of the HWA of Jay Hartnell. That may help his teammate though. And Ramsell not going for it at the moment. Now Don Argent protecting his line and position. So Rosie, what can she do here? She has got a penalty hanging over her as Cookie goes defensive already. Can't see too many other battles going on track. This is the closest as Cookie leads at the moment. Well, he's not anymore because Rosie gets ahead of him in the battle for 4th place on the road. So Rosie's through. Oh, I think Cookie's in the wall. He is, and he's out. So Cookie's out of the race, and that is enough to bring out the safety car for the second time. So it's good news for all those who are at the back of the field. For Green Pies, his lead is wiped out. And it's bad news for Mielios as well, because he had a 13-second cushion over Winfield in the battle for 2nd place. He's got with it all to do. I can imagine there'll be some pit lane activity throughout the whole grid. So Green Pies and Melios decided to stay out. Dust coming into the pits for a change of tyres. Hartnell in. Ramsell most certainly is going to be coming in because he's got that front wing damage. So I can imagine soft tyres are going to be going on these cars. 5 laps to go in this race. Safety car has caught the leader. Ramsell has another set of soft tyres waiting to go on. He will fall to, looks to be 15th place. And Swanshanks gets another penalty for track limits. So with these penalties, this is going to change the race result here. Look at Redstone Dirt, 17 seconds. Swanshanks, 14 seconds. So both Shrews drivers not having a good one in this feature race. So the safety car will remain out there for another lap, I would imagine. Doesn't appear that there's any drivers whose car is controlled by the AI at the moment. So 16 still running. We'll have 4 laps to go at the end of this lap. The safe car staying out there to allow the rest of those further behind to catch up. Is there anyone thinking about ducking into the pits? Emerson Dirt decides not to. Hodge has only just been in, so I would imagine he'll just stay out as well. We've got 1 Dams at the front and 1 at the back. Vintage in 16th place. As Ramsell picks up a penalty now, 3 seconds for track limits. So he's got, with his work cut out now between now and the checker flag, to make up some positions. The leaders are going to be very much on the threat now from the likes of Podge and all those further behind. Green Pies won't be as much though, because he's on the mediums, whereas most of the others are on worn softs. So the safety car will be going in at the end of this lap. Race control confirms. So Green Pies just needs to do what he did so earlier and just get a nice restart here. Allow the safety car to pull off. And this will be a 3-lap shootout to the finish. 9 drivers with time penalties at the moment. Melios is on 8, Rosie and Therese and Ramsell and Vintage are on 3. Wild Dog and Malky are on 6. Swanshanks has 14 seconds and Redstone Dirt has 17 seconds. We're about to go back on the way though, here in Portsmouth. Here we go. Green Pies leads on the restart. And Winfield gets in front of Melios. I wonder if he overtook him just before the line, but he may not have done. But Winfield gets up to 2nd place anyway in the Prema. There we can see Rosie looking to get through on her mediums that will have more life left than those on the worn softs. There's Wild Dog getting a time penalty. As I say, Arjun has barged his way through past to Raids and Wild Dog to go up into 5th place. So Arjun absolutely on fire on the restart. And someone has spun round. That's Malky in the HWA. And he's off with his teammate, Jay Hartnell, as well. So Malky's front wing's gone. Jay Hartnell's car is probably damaged as well. So Podge hasn't made his way through yet. Redstone Dirt knows he's going to drop back once the penalties have been applied. There's Redstone Dirt getting out of shape though, as he's going side by side there with Wild Dog. Redstone Dirt catching the curb there. Podge trying to take advantage. Does he do so into 14 here? Oh, I think he got tapped from behind by Swanshank, so it won't like that. And that's Ramsell. That's another front wing damage for him. What is going on with him in this race? I do not know. He's been tapped from behind by Dust as well, so Dust's car is probably damaged. His front wing most certainly. Sees the car's moving from one side of the track to the other to get out of the slipstream. Swanshank's going off track. Malky with a time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. He just wants this race over. Someone's already in the wall by the looks of it. No, I take that back. My apologies. But look at Podge. Oh, that's naughty. That is very naughty there from Podge. I don't know what on earth what was going through his mind. Deliberately taking out his teammate there, and that is him going to be falling in trouble with the stewards. And he's almost reversing back onto the racetrack, so that'll be him falling foul. Well, that'll be him starting the sprint race at the back, and the stewards will not be at all happy with his behaviour there. Mielios in 3rd place behind Winfield, who runs wide at turn 13. And Mielios is able to get through, but they're still going side by side as they go through turn 15 together. The Campos leaves the Prima enough space. We're now onto the last lap. And Winfield is on the threat now from Don Argent, who's got past him. He may get a move on Mielios into turn 1, but doesn't quite do so. There's Winfield diving to the inside of Rosie, who is getting in on the act now. Oh, and Rosie just keeps hold of it there, as Charades gets through on the road ahead of her. Oh, Rosie makes contact with him though. Brake too late into turn 5, and Rosie's front wing is partly damaged. And Podge is into the pits. May be able to take some of his penalty, but that should be the least of his worries at the moment. But here's Green Pies, who's built out a comfortable margin at the moment. And he's going to go on and take yet another victory to throw himself back in the championship race. Don Argent, as it stands, will finish 2nd in this one once the penalties have been applied, and Winfield will go to the podium. So Green Pies with one more corner to get through them. Turn 15 it is. And they'll be coming onto the pit straight. Green Pies wins the feature race in Portugal in the Formula Racing League. Green Pies takes it. Mielios crosses 2nd over the line, but it's Don Argent who gets promoted up there. Winfield finishes on the podium. Charades 4th, Rosie 5th, Mielios 6th, Ramsell 7th. No, Fragile in 7th, Ramsell 8th and on the reverse grid pole. Dust 9th, Vintage 10, Wild Dog 11th, Jay Hartnell 12th, Swanshanks 13th, Redstone Derp will be 14th, and Malky, the last of the finishers home, in 15th place. So Mielios dropped 4 positions with the penalty applied. So Green Pies wins, and Ramsell in the high-tech is on reverse grid pole. So 40 championship points going to Green Pies, and Argent bagging 32, plus a point for the fastest lap, or 2 points I should say for the fastest lap, because it is F2. So that'll be 34 points to take away from in this race for Arjun. So that'll do his championship challenge no harm whatsoever. Even though he may have lost or seen some of his ground being cut, he is still very much firm favourite for this championship. Malky crossing over the line now, but it's victory for Green Pies in Portugal in the feature race. The drivers out onto the podium then. Green Pies celebrating another victory in F2. That takes his championship total to 245. Don Arjun's 34 points moves him on to 238. So the gap at the top is 92 going into the sprint. So here's your final race result. In the feature race, Green Pies wins ahead of Don Arjun in second place and claiming the points for the fastest lap. Winfield is third ahead of Terrades fourth. Rosie fifth ahead of Melios in sixth. Fragile Tunnel seventh and Ramsel in eighth and on reverse grid pole. Dust ninth and Vintage running out the top 10. Wild Dog 11th ahead of Jay Hartnell. Swanshanks is 13th ahead of Redstone Derp in 14th place. Malky was 15th and Podge, despite not finishing, was classified as a finisher. But I'm sure the stewards will be speaking to him after that contact between himself and his teammate at turn 5. Cookie retired, as did Will, so only 2 drivers were not classified at the end of that. That was the feature. We go on to the sprint. 13 laps of action coming up to wrap up the evening's round. We'll be back very shortly. So just waiting for the formation lap for this to get underway. And I don't know whether we've had a connection issue or something. Someone may need to inform me on this. There is another lobby being put together now. So it looks like most of everyone is joining that session. So what it could mean is I may need to cut the broadcast short in order to join this lobby that is happening. So just bear with us one moment. And then we should get this sprint race underway to wrap up the evening's action. Yep, so it looks as though the drivers are on the formation now. It could just be a connection glitch or something. But Ramsel is on reverse grid pole. He's on the mediums, as is Fragile Tunnel. Dust and Jay Hartnell are also on mediums, and the rest seem to be on the soft compound, which is interesting, because you would normally see all the drivers on the harder compound, with it being a sprint. Of course, 13 laps. So we expect to see the drivers on the soft compound making their way through. So the rundown in the grid, Ramsel and Fragile Tunnel are on the front row, with Ramsel in reverse grid pole next to Melios and Rosie on row 2. Terrades and Winfield are next, followed by Argent and the feature race winner, Green Pies, on the 4th row. Dust and Vintage make up row 5, followed by Jay Hartnell and Redstone Dirt. Podge and Cookie are next, with Will, Wild Dog, Swanshanks and Melky completing the grid. So the leaderboard is glitching a little bit, so hopefully that'll be fixed in time for when lights do go out. Here we go then for the final time tonight. Who will lead into turn 1 first? Will it be Ramsel or will it be Fragile Tunnel? The 5 red lights are on, and when they extinguish, we'll be going racing for one last time in Portimao. It's the lights out, and away we go. Ramsel leads off the line, and we've got Fragile Tunnel. It looks like Melios has got to a shocker of a start, and he's been swamped by 3 or 4 cars already before they get to turn 1. So Ramsel, as he did so last time, leads coming out of turn 1. And then we've got Fragile Tunnel being overtaken by Rosie, who dives to the inside. So Rosie doing very well on the soft compound so far. And he's into second position. It may not be too long, and one of the Cheroosas has gone round. It's Swanshanks, who has broken his front wing. So watching further behind, there's plenty of front wing hitting rear wing, and all that's happening as the drivers go through turn 7 and coming into turn 8 now. So Ramsel 1.5 seconds clear already. Rosie under threat from Winfield has also made a brilliant start from 6th on the grid to get himself up into 3rd. It may not be too long before he finds himself in P2. Green Pies is only up to P7 as he's just got past Fragile Tunnel. And with that sector 3 yellow flag, that is a glitch, so just ignore that. So the driver's coming round to complete the first lap. And it's Ramsel who continues to pull out a margin. This is an important race for him to do well in. There's Argent to the inside of Mielios. He runs out wide. There's a yellow flag in sector 1. That is another one of those glitches. Wild Dog to the inside of Dust. You can see all this squabbly going on. This is brilliant. It's just like not just one battle that's happening, but there's multiple battles that are going on at the same time. Excellent to see. Dust under threat from Mielios, who's continued to drop back after that poor start. Fragile Tunnel's dropped back as well. So both campuses really struggling in this sprint race at the moment. But Ramsel's pulling out all the stops at the moment. 2.5 seconds clear, and on the better tyres than those who have started on the softs, who are likely to struggle towards the end of the race. It looks like that Podge and Cookie's cars are controlled by the AI at the moment, as Green Pies makes a move on Winfield for 4th place. The 2 bone wheels, Winfield running out wide and getting a time penalty for it. So Winfield won't like that one bit, as Ramsel posts a new fastest lap of the race. I think Green Pies is giving the position back to Winfield. Felt he overtook him unfairly coming out of turn 14. But Winfield's back on the inside. He's got through on Winfield again. So just the one driver with a time penalty at the moment. That's Winfield in 5th position. So Fragile Tunnel down the inside of Vintage into turn 5. And there's Ramsel extending the margin. And looks like Malky's gone for a spin on the exit of turn 8, but has continued. So Arjun is now within DRS range to have a go on Rosie. Swanshank's back in the pits, and we appear to be glitching again. Don't worry, folks, this is not the end of the race or a red flag situation. It's just one of those things that keeps on happening sometimes in these races. It's really annoying for a spectator. So I'll make sure I get myself back in. Hopefully not miss anything. We do apologise for the technical difficulties, folks. This is pretty much out of my control. It's one of these issues of which Codemasters has been having over the last month or so, if not more. And whilst we're waiting, do feel free to get involved in the live chat. Do make sure you like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Let me know how your day has been. Let me know what you think of the Imola circuit that's been released as well. I'm sure a lot of people have been anticipating it over the course of the last few weeks after the release of Portimao, the circuit of which F2 in the FRL are racing tonight. Right, I think because of the technical difficulties, what I'm going to do is cut the broadcast short, come out of the game, and then come back into it again, and then start the broadcast. So just bear with us 1 minute, folks. We'll be right back.